On today's show, we are finishing up the top 30 prospects with the top 10 and a number one that is absolutely fantastic. We're also going to talk about where any of the potential first-round draft picks would slot in. All that and more on this episode of Locked On Rangers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the Texas Rangers. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan since 2010, the founder and host for all 5 seasons of this Locked On Rangers podcast. Today is Wednesday, July 12th. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If you're not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Subscribe on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, I'm going to finish out my top 10 prospects of the Rangers system at the midpoint of this season. Full disclosure, I am recording this on Saturday, so I don't know what happens in the draft, but I've got the top 5 guys who the Rangers might pick, and at the end of this, I'll be telling you where exactly I would put those guys had I been able to predict the future. Now, let's get into number 10. At number 10, we have Kumar Rocker, the Rangers' first-round pick from last season, the 6'5", 245-pound right-handed starting pitcher. He is 23 years old, will turn 24 in November. The Rangers drafted him out of Vanderbilt after a year where he was drafted by the Mets and then did not sign due to injuries, concerns with the shoulder. He got a surgery to repair that shoulder. Then he played in the Frontier League for 5 starts, and the Rangers sent him out to Surprise, where he looked not super great. And then this year they started him in Hickory, learned from their mistakes with Jack Leiter, and he was absolutely dominant in 6 starts before having to undergo Tommy John surgery. So he is going to be out until the midpoint of next season, but in his 6 starts, he showed everything the Rangers hoped from him. A 3.86 ERA in 28 innings, 42 strikeouts to just 7 walks. The walks were a huge problem for him in Surprise, 7.7 walks per 9 in 14 innings in Surprise. It was a little erratic, was changing his delivery, and the delivery looked much better, much cleaner. He was using his lower half, which is immense because he's 6'5" and 245. He's got a lot of power in there. He's got a nasty slider. His slider might be the best pitch in the entire Rangers farm system. It is just that freaking good. The fastball is very good. Sits in the mid-90s, getting a little bit closer to that. Has touched 99 several times. Definitely got the potential to be a upper 90s guy. He's got the build of a starting pitcher, a guy who is at his ceiling, a frontline starter. There have been concerns about the injuries, about the elbow and the shoulder and whatever. I wasn't concerned about the shoulder. I was concerned about the delivery and how that kind of wasn't utilizing his natural strengths that we saw in the Arizona Complex League. It looked much better in Hickory, and he was on the verge of a promotion to AA before he got shut down for the season with that Tommy John surgery. A 13.5 Ks per 9 for him this year in Hickory. That is absolutely fantastic. He was just right around the league average age at 23 in the Sally League, but he was going to come up to AA Frisco and look like he might be dominating in AA Frisco, but we never got to see him get the chance this year. I bet that's where he starts next year whenever he does come back, but he's a guy who has got 5 pitches, basically worked on adding a changeup this year, mainly fastball, slider, curveball, added a little bit of a 2-seamer this year we got to see a little bit more of, and the changeup as well, but this money is going to be made on the fastball, curveball, and slider. The changeup just has to be fine in order for it to play up. But, I mean, the guy's got an impressive repertoire. I'm not really concerned about Tommy John because everybody has Tommy John surgery. I mean, I know MLB Pipeline immediately, they put him on their top 100 and then immediately dropped him off, basically within an hour, because that's when it was announced that he was having Tommy John surgery. I think that was a little harsh, and I do still think his ceiling is as high as literally anybody pitching-wise in this system, and I am really excited to see him get back on the mound next year. I have no doubt about his work ethic, that he will come back and be just fine and come back from this injury, maybe even stronger, but it's a real bummer that he had to have this Tommy John surgery. We didn't get to see all that much of him, just 6 starts, but I am still a huge believer in Kumar Rocker and his ability to be a starting pitcher in the major leagues for the Rangers, or at the very least, a very big contributor out of the bullpen, and the worst case scenario. At number 9, we have Anthony Gutierrez. Now, don't look at Anthony Gutierrez's numbers. I mean, you can look at them this year if you want to, but look at his age. He is 18 years old, already playing in Down East basically every single day. Last year, he was really solid in his time with the Arizona Complex League and the Rangers Dominican Summer League. But look how aggressive the Rangers are with this guy. He is a outfielder, 6'3", listed at 180 pounds. He hits right-handed, throws right-handed, and his ceiling is maybe as high as anybody in this group. I think I might be the low man on him, having him at number 9. I know that Baseball Prospectus really, really liked him. They had him, I believe, all the way at 8 before the season. He's 6'3", like I said, 180 pounds, just 18 years old, and doesn't turn 19 until the end of November. So he's a guy who potentially has 5+ tools at the big league level. He's a guy who hits for a decent amount of pop and has got a lot of bat speed and just needs to be a little bit more disciplined at the plate, but his ceiling is very, very high. He might end up slowing down to be a corner outfielder, but he's got some really, really good jumps and some good reads. His speed isn't elite, but it really plays up and allows him to play up as a center fielder defensively. I'm a believer in this kid. I think that I'm hoping that he has a monster second half as he gets used to the level of pitching that he is facing at this level. He had a decent amount of success in just 6 games in the Complex League. He's had 41 in Down East, hitting .239 with an on-base of .297, slugging just .296. Not exactly breathtaking numbers, but 12 walks, 240 strikeouts. It's all right. 12 steals to 6 times caught stealing. Could be a little bit better. But in the Arizona Complex League, in 21 plate appearances there, he had .350 with on base of .381 and slugged .550, a .931 OPS. A pair of triples for him in those 6 games helped those slugging numbers, which he hasn't done nearly as much at Down East. But still, the ceiling is very, very high on this kid, and that's what I'm putting him here at number 9 about because of his ceiling. Somebody who doesn't have as high a ceiling, but it has a pretty high floor is the next guy on this list, Justin Foscue at number 8, the second baseman / third baseman / probably eventually DH / left fielder, was the Rangers' first round pick in the 2020 draft, 14th overall out of Mississippi State. He is 24 years old, and this year at AAA, he has been crushing it for the most part. 64 games, 294 plate appearances, 10 home runs, 4 triples, which is tied for the team lead, which is kind of surprising given his speed. He's also got 17 doubles as well, hitting .281 with an on-base of .402, slugging .508, a .910 OPS. Now the thing with him is he just needs to hit. He needs to hit the crap out of the baseball. In the last 7 days, he's got a pair of home runs, a multi-home run game on the 7th of July, which those are his only home runs in the last 28 days. And we've seen him go on these streaks where he'll have like 8 home runs in 8 games or 10 home runs in 10 games, but he needs to be more consistent with that power. He is not a plus defender at second base. He is not even an average defender at third base. I think maybe he might end up being okay in the outfield. He can hit, and I think he could probably hit at the big league level. I think he could hit big league lefties right now. The Rangers don't really have a place for him. He is the most likely obvious trade chip in the system. I think that he could definitely fetch a price, help command a pretty big package. I mean, he's not going to get you a Corbin Burns as the leading prospect in that package, but I think he's a solid number 2 prospect in any trade package the Rangers might want to do at mid-season. Coming up, we're going to look at the number 7 guy, another guy who I think is probably most likely on his way out if the Rangers make some big moves at the deadline, and a trio of pitchers as well. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Bird Dogs are the best looking pair of pants you will ever find yourself wearing, or shorts if that is your thing as well. Bird Dogs make you look good. Bird Dogs stretch khaki shorts designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and give you a truly sculpted look. Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit way better. They fit better than regular shorts that are made of stiff, restricting cotton. Bird Dogs fixed this issue by inventing cloud knit fabric that looks just like khaki, but stretches so you get a way slimmer fit without having to sacrifice the movement. Bird Dogs uses anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. Even in the Texas summer heat, they will keep you dry walking around. going out to bars or just taking a walk around the neighborhood with the dog, they will keep you looking good, and you will not be sweating through these shorts because they are so freaking comfortable. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB and enter promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnMLB or promo code LockedOnMLB for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise you. Shout out to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. On tomorrow's show, I will be breaking down what happened with the Rangers in the draft. Texas takes on the Guardians this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now, the number 7 prospect in this midseason rankings is Dustin Harris. Dustin Harris has had himself a great first half to the season. He is a corner outfielder / first baseman / kind of third baseman, more just corner outfielder these days, and pretty much since last year. He's listed at 6'5", 185 pounds, bats left-handed, throws right-handed, and today is actually his birthday as I am recording this. So happy birthday, Justin Harris. I guess this is will be a few days late, but he just turned 24 on July 8th. Was originally an 11th round pick by the Oakland A's in the 2019 draft out of St. Petersburg College in St. Petersburg, Florida, and he was acquired by the Rangers in the Mike Minor trade, an absolute steal by the Rangers because Dustin Harris has turned out to be a fantastic prospect. He made the Futures game in 2022, and this year he is already in Round Rock in 13 games. In Round Rock, he's slashing at .289, .418, and .511, a pair of home runs, a pair of doubles, and a triple in just 55 plate appearances. He's been fantastic there. He's an okay defensive outfielder. I mean, the routes are kind of circuitous. He just kind of transitioned to full-time outfielder last year. He's got the athleticism for it. He's a guy who has gone 20 bombs and 20 steals in the season before. That was back in 2021 when splitting time between Down East and Hickory. Last year, he did not quite make that mark. He got 19 stolen bases and 17 home runs. This year, he has got 7 bombs and 27 stolen bases. So he's been going ham on the base pass. A lot of straight line speed. It's not necessarily the quickness that you would want to see at a guy at third base or shortstop. I don't really think third base is long-term home, but really the bat is what kind of carries this profile. He had some holes in the swing. It seems like he has patched those up rather nicely this year and done a much, much better job at that walk and strikeout ratio. In Frisco, in 60 games there, he had 44 walks to 65 strikeouts. And at Round Rock, he's got 10 walks to 10 strikeouts. Very, very nice stuff for him. I don't think he's ever going to play in center field. I think he might be okay in a corner. But he's definitely got the ceiling of an everyday guy in the corner outfield. I don't think it's higher than Evan Carter or Ezekiel Duran, or maybe it is a little bit higher than Aaron Zavala. But I think that his most likely way to help the Rangers is probably going to be being included in a trade. He's got a really solid ceiling and a good season this year. The Rangers, I think, are trying to showcase him by getting him to AAA, letting him have some success there before the deadline. Now, number 6 in this prospect rankings, a little disappointing, a little less exciting. It's Jack Leiter, the Rangers' first-round pick from 2021, second overall out of Vanderbilt. Please don't look, if you value your mental health, please don't look at what the other guys who I wanted the Rangers to draft, those shortstops, and Marcelo Meyer and Jordan Lawler, are doing at AA for their respective teams. But it has been a rough year for Jack Leiter. He had a great month of May, absolutely fantastic. 5 starts there, a 1.67 ERA, 33 strikeouts to just 13 walks in 27 innings. But in the month since, it has not been quite as good for him. He had 4 starts in June, a couple of weeks he spent on the development list, which is basically just a way to rest his arm, not have to pitch him too many innings. And since he's come back, the 2 starts he's had since then have been bad, just real bad, including the worst start of his professional career, which came on Friday. Only made it through 1 out, allowed 5 hits, 6 runs, 5 of them were earned, walked a couple, and hit, I believe, at least 1 batter, maybe 2, but just really, really rough. Actually, he didn't hit anybody, so okay, sorry, I was trying to assign more blame than it was, but it was just a really truly terrible outing for him, and it's been rough. He's been missing with the same way he's been missing for the last couple years. He hasn't seemed to get that much better for that month of May. He was finally hitting his stuff glove side. The fastball gets up there into the upper 90s, gets a lot of swings and misses. The slider and curveball could eventually be both plus pitches, but they have been really, really streaky for him. And the changeup is we've barely seen it. He's added a cutter that I haven't really seen all that much either. And it really just all comes down to fastball command. Can he stay in the strike zone? Can he not miss every single pitch glove side with that fastball? And the answer has been no so far, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Rangers just demoted him. I know it would be kind of an ego crusher, but he needs a win. He needs to go dominate somebody for a while, go center the complex league or something, because what's happening in AA is not working. It's been really, really frustrating. I'm still a believer in him being at least an okay back-end starting rotation guy, but the more and more I see of it, the more frustrated I get with Jack Leiter. I'm still a believer, and I think there's been a lot of focus paid to him. I think that's been kind of tough on him. But whatever he has been missing, it has been very frustrating. I think he can still figure it out, but it has not been a good couple years for Jack Leiter. The same cannot be said for the next guy on this list, Brock Porter, number 5 in my prospect rankings. He was the Rangers' 4th-round pick back in 2022. The reason the Rangers were able to get him was because they saved so much money on Kumar Rocker, paying him well under slot, and gave all of that money to Brock Porter in the 4th round. He just turned 20 years old on June 3rd. He's listed at 6'4", 208 pounds. He is the right-handed starting pitcher. Was drafted out of, I believe, Michigan. Yes, St. Mary's Preparatory School in Orange Lake Village, Michigan. He has probably the highest ceiling of anybody in this farm system pitching-wise. He has been really reworking his delivery a lot this year. He has pitched in Down East so far, and the walks have still been a problem. 5.6 walks per nine. He's really just kind of relearning how to pitch. I mean, his delivery had a lot of head whack. He was kind of looking backwards, not even looking at the catcher when he was delivering the ball a lot of times in high school. And that works out against high school hitters, but not against trained professionals. But so far this year, his changeup has just been so good. He's just been basically unhittable at Down East. His ERA has started coming back down to earth just a little bit in his last few starts. Still at 264 in 14 games started, 44 and 2/3 innings pitched, 63 strikeouts, 12.7 Ks per nine, just 5 hits per nine, and 0.2 home runs per nine. His changeup is basically just too good for hitters at his level. He's got a very, very high ceiling of maybe a top-end starting pitcher, probably more likely a mid-rotation starter, but I mean, who knows with this kid? High school pitchers take a long, long time to develop, and he's going to take a while. So don't hold your horses that he's going to be up in Frisco anytime soon. I think he's probably going to spend the entirety of this season at Down East. Maybe we see him in High A Hickory next year. The Rangers are going to be cautious with him. He is a little older for a guy who was drafted out of high school. There's a lot of reworking to be done, but the ceiling is very, very high on this kid, and I am very, very excited about what he can do. Number 4, we have Owen White, somebody we have seen in the big leagues who is starting the futures game for the Texas Rangers as somehow their only representative. I don't know how Evan Carter didn't make it onto the futures game, but I digress. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe that's my only explanation as to why Evan Carter would not be in the futures game. But we've already seen Owen White make his major league debut. I think the defense and hitting let him down just a little bit in his major league debut, but he has been really, really solid for the Rangers this year. He's been pitching through a neck injury, and it took him a little while to get his fastball velocity back, but once he got it back, he looked very much back like a guy who's got a ceiling as a mid-rotation pitcher. He does a good job of spotting all of his pitches, commanding all of his pitches to all parts of the zone. A fastball that grades out as potentially plus, curveball, slider, both of those could end up being eventually plus pitches. Same with his changeup. He's got a good feel for the strike zone. It doesn't walk a whole lot of guys and commands the fastball. That's what I want my starting pitching prospect to do. He does a good job of it. He's been promoted to AAA Round Rock. Hasn't had the most success there in just 3 starts, but his most recent one was his best by far. That was on the 4th of July against the Sugarland Space Cowboys. Went 5 innings, just allowed 3 hits, 1 walk to 3 strikeouts in 60 pitches thrown. Solid stuff for him. I'm a believer in Owen White. I think he's going to have some time. He's going to have to break down the door to get his way into the starting rotation. He's going to have to pass Cody Bradford to get into the starting rotation. I think maybe by the end of the year, the Rangers might throw him in their big league pen and see his stuff play up, and I think he could be a very, very valuable weapon for the Rangers coming out of the pen. I do still think his long-term future is as a starter, and I am a big believer in Owen White, Owen Barfight White, if you will. Not a nickname he has acknowledged, but the kind of guy he would want on your side in a bar fight should you find yourself in that situation. Coming up, we'll look at the top 3 and a guy who has not been ranked in my top 30s at all, jumping all the way up into the top 3. But first, this word from our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices, and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around your career, relationships, or anything else, therapy really helps you stay connected to what you really want to navigate life, so you can move forward with the confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Therapy is a great way to stay grounded, and I've recently started. It's been very, very helpful for me. And if you're thinking about starting therapy, then you should give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time with no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnMLB today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnMLB. Thank you all so much to the Everydayers for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day on Friday's show. I'll break down 5 keys for the Rangers in the second half to winning the American League West. The Rangers take on the Guardians this weekend. You can catch every pitch with the hometown broadcast on SiriusXM. Just download the SXM app and search Rangers. Now we are all the way at number 3 on this list. We have the shortstop out of the Bahamas, Sebastian Walcott. Yeah, that's right. He is all the way up here at number 3. He is 17 years old. The Rangers signed him for $3.2 million in January, the 6th highest bonus in the 2023 international class. He has got a lot of potential. Like I said, he is 6'4". He does play shortstop. I do still think that he can stick at shortstop. The defense has been a little shaky so far, but the hitting has been absolutely exceptional. He was signed out of the Bahamas on January 15th of this year. He doesn't turn 18 until March 14th of next year. He was born in 2006, listed at 190 pounds, but he is already hitting for a lot of power so far in his minor league career, which has been very brief, only 17 games, and this is a little bit of a leap for me, but I am a huge, huge believer in this kid. He's played 9 games so far at the Dominican Summer League team with Rangers Blue, and then he's played 9 games in the Arizona Complex League, where he has somehow been even better. In the 9 games with the Dominican Summer League, he had 42 plate appearances, had a slash line of 161, 381, and slugged 323, a 704 OPS. But in 9 games, 41 plate appearances in the Arizona Complex League, where he is 2.8 years younger than the average player, he's got a slash line of 385, 415, 897. That is a 1312 OPS. He's got 5 home runs, 2 triples, and a double in 9 games. He has been slugging the absolute crap out of the baseball. In the Dominican Summer League, he had 10 walks to 8 strikeouts, a lot of erratic pitching there. So far, he hasn't worked as many walks at the Arizona Complex League. He has got 11 strikeouts to just 2 walks. He's been caught stealing twice in 6 total attempts between the 2 different leagues, but he has been absolutely crushing it, and doing so at such a young age. I'm getting promoted after 9 games in the Dominican Summer League to say, all right, we're bringing you stateside, kid, because you can absolutely hit, and he has. And he has hit even better at the Arizona Complex League than he did at the Dominican Summer League. He is a guy who could stick at shortstop, could have 30-plus homer potential at the big league level, a guy who could hit for decent average, got a really, really good arm as well, a plus to double plus arm, could eventually end up in right or at third base. Either one of those positions, I think he could be an above average defender there. I think he could be probably average at shortstop, but I don't know. I haven't seen anything of him. I have only read reports. The Rangers are very, very high on this kid. They gave him that $3.2 million bonus, and the Bahamas is looking like an absolute hotbed for Major League Baseball players. Jazz Chisholm is from there, and I think there are a few other minor league prospects that are there, but Sebastian Walcott might be the next big name out of the Bahamas, and he could be a future star for the Rangers. Now at number 2, we have another shortstop, a guy whose brother is a big star, and he's going to be a big star in his own right. That is Luisangel Acuna, the shortstop slash second baseman slash now a little bit center fielder for the Frisco Rough Riders. He is listed at 5'8", 185 pounds, throws right-handed, and bats right-handed as well. He is 21 years old, just turned 21. on March 12th out of Caracas, Venezuela. Like I said, his older brother is probably going to be the National League MVP, but he is absolutely fantastic for the Frisco Rough Riders this year, playing primarily shortstop. He's a guy who absolutely stings the crap out of the baseball. His offensive profiles is pretty similar, honestly, to Ezekiel Duran, just a guy who is not very big, but whenever he makes contact, it is loud, it is hard, and it is to all fields. Not a huge walks guy, but has gotten better at that and has been very, very good on the base pass this year and last year as well, but mainly this year. 34 stolen bases to just 3 times caught stealing, 29 walks to 65 strikeouts in 70 games, 334 plate appearances for Frisco. He's got 6 home runs, 19 doubles, and 823 OPS, and an on base of 372, and hitting over 300 at 315. He has been very solid, a legitimate, I think, everyday shortstop at the big league level, and maybe he could play center field as well. I think that he might be the one if the Rangers are going to move Corey Seager off shortstop. In my mind, it's going to be either Luisangel Acuna or Ezekiel Duran that does that eventually. I don't think it's going to happen anytime in the next couple of years, but eventually down the road, I think he is one of the 2 guys who could eventually move that superstar with that contract off of that position because he is very good there and could provide a lot of value as an everyday player. Or he could be a huge trade piece for the Rangers at midseason. He has grown quite a bit in the last couple of years in terms of my valuing on him, and I am really excited to see what this kid can do for the rest of the season. I think he's an everyday big leaguer at shortstop. He's 21 years old, 3.6 years younger than the average Texas League player, and he has been absolutely crushing it. Another guy who is very young for his league and has been absolutely crushing it. Of course, number 1, we have Evan Carter, who was number 1 before the season. I kind of regret not going with my gut and putting Josh Young there and being able to brag about that, but I went with Evan Carter, and you know what? It hasn't been that bad of a choice either. He is the Rangers' second-round pick in the 2020 draft. He is still just 20 years old, doesn't turn the legal drinking age until August 29th, and he has been absolutely dominant for the Rangers, a consensus top 10 prospect in all of baseball at midseason. MLB Pipeline, Baseball America, and I think eventually when Baseball Prospectus comes out with their top 50 at midseason, he's going to be in there as well. And the thing with Evan Carter, it has just been, has he been healthy? In the first month of the season, he was absolutely exceptional. 18 games with an OPS of 1043. Absolutely insane stuff. Then he suffered a little bit of an injury, was playing through it in May, had an OPS of just 614. Then comes back in June, 12 games there, and 1166 OPS, and in 7 games in July, a 1012 OPS. He has just been absolutely dominant when he has been healthy. Overall, his combined numbers in Frisco, where he is 4.6 years younger than the average Texas leaguer. He has got a slash line of 312, 423, 471, and 893 OPS. If you combine those 3 games he played in the Arizona Complex League, his OPS is at 901. I don't know how much longer he's going to stay in Frisco. He's probably going to be in AAA, I would think, after the All-Star break. He is absolutely exceptional. His ceiling is a guy who is hitting 30 home runs, playing potentially Gold Glove defense in center field, but he's probably more likely going to be in left field just because Leo Taveras has been that good. Remember that month when everyone wanted to rush Evan Carter to the big leagues before he was ready, before we knew if he was ready, because Leo Taveras had a rough couple of weeks? Well, Leo Taveras is probably your center fielder of the future, and I think Evan Carter is your left fielder of the future, and maybe Ezekiel Duran is your right fielder or DH of the future, but he is not going anywhere, I don't think, at the trade deadline, unless the Rangers acquire some ace that is not on the market. I'm not trading him for just about anything out there because his ceiling is incredibly high. I think he could be with the Rangers at the end of this season. At the big league level, being an everyday player, I really do think that he could probably supplant Travis Jankowski as the everyday left fielder, and then Ezekiel Duran as the DH, splitting time with Mitch Garver in the ideal Rangers postseason lineup. That's how good this kid is. He was undeterred at spring training, facing off against big leaguers. I don't think he'll be deterred against big leaguers, even in a playoff scenario or in a playoff chase down the stretch, which I really do think he could be in the big leagues by the end of this year if he keeps up this pace and does similar things at AAA. But they're not going to force him into the big leagues before he's ready, which is a nice thing for him. Now, let's look at the top 5 picks in the draft, where I think they would slot in if any of these guys fell to the Rangers. Well, one of them is going to be available for the Rangers, and if the Rangers decide to pick any of these 5. Any of the top 3 college guys, Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz, or Wyatt Langford. Dylan Cruz and Wyatt Langford are the outfield hitters. Paul Skeens is the potential future ace who won the College World Series with LSU. Any of those 3 guys, I would put those guys right at number 2. I am very high on all of them. I think there's maybe a 10% chance that any of them fall to the Rangers, but as you're listening to this, you already know what happened. So if the Rangers got one of these 3, I am over the moon. You are probably over the moon, and they are the number 2 prospect in my rankings had I known how to predict the future. And the 2 high school hitters, Max Clark or Walker Jenkins, I think of them very similarly. I'd be very excited for any of these 5 players, but for those 2, I would put them probably at number 7, just ahead of Dustin Harris and just behind Jack Leiter. Maybe bump them up to 6 and move Jack Leiter down. But again, I can't predict the future, so that's where those guys would stack up. That is going to do it for today's show and for this top 30 prospect rankings. Let me know how you think I did in the YouTube comments or on Twitter. Be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are closing in on that 2,500 subscriber mark and would really appreciate hitting that by the end of July. Thank you all so much for listening and subscribing, and until next time, don't forget to enjoy first place Texas Rangers baseball.